they play from the start to the finish, how physical they play, obviously dependent upon their position. But more importantly, their ability to change direction, their acceleration with the change of direction, how fluid are they? And then from there, that's where the real research starts. Because if we're intrigued enough at that point, we're on to the game film. We don't need to see highlights. We don't need to see their best plays. We need to see every play. Then we need to see what are they doing in between the plays. We get a chance to see them in person. Or if their games are on TV. Or we get a chance, obviously to go evaluate a practice. What do they look like when they're warming up? What type of leaders are they? It's not just about from snap to whistle. We get the opportunity to go into a school and or make calls to school and talk to the counselors, talk to the people at the school, talk to the security guard. What type of people are we talking about? How do they make people feel around them? How do they make their teammates feel? There's a whole lot that goes into it. But when we're talking about a football player, we're talking about a competitor. At the end of the day, that film and the first 4 to 5 clips should show us that that individual is a competitor, both mentally and physically.
The class, the philosophy, 10 offense, 11 defense, 1 specialist. Is that kind of the plan, Coach? Balance?
Balance, yeah. I mean, it's a numbers game as much as anybody knows this year, Johnny. And I mean, like, this is a whole new equation that everybody's going through, and how we balance everything out going forward. For us, we've been we stick to the numbers. It's the bottom line. If we're going to build a balanced team, it's got to be balanced how we bring it in. And as we know, it always starts up front. Are there going to be needs specific year to year, heavier on one side of the ball or the other, or maybe in a front, or we graduate a lot of guys in the back end, then obviously we got to spend more time evaluating and building relationships with the guys that can help build the depth in the secondary. Same at wide receiver. This given year, as we spoke about all year, we needed to improve the depth in both of our fronts on both sides of the ball.
Looks like 9 out of 22 are either defensive linemen or linebackers, that front 7 of your defense. Obviously, that was a position of need. You feel like you covered everything you needed there with the guys?
Yeah, we're excited about the defensive front, not just the the D-line, edge players, but the linebackers especially. We were heavier in the secondary this year with our personnel, as we all know. Some of those guys are young and continue to get a lot of valuable reps in their growth. We've seen a lot of the young DBs, and now we're able to add depth. Again, this game starts up front. That's the bottom line. When we've been successful, it all starts up front. Those DBs standing back there, they don't want to cover all day, right? So, and they don't want guys running full speed, coming out of the backfield through a shoot on them, So that was a huge need, Mike, as we've spoken about all year. And not only were we able to get talented players, we can all sit here and watch their film, but we feel extremely, extremely confident about the ability to develop because of who they are in terms of how they compete, understanding that there's a process that goes into growth and being consistent, and we're really excited about that.
How do you weigh the difference of a transfer, whether it be a JUCO or somebody that comes in with anywhere from 1 to 3 years left, versus taking somebody that's a freshman who would have the
current roster? And that's kind of what's happened, with the COVID year, with transfers, managing the roster and the classes within the roster. It's not just about the numbers at a position, but managing the classes within. And what does that look like? It's just not for next year, it's for years beyond and how we build this program. And so we got to have balance within that. And I think you would see, in the areas of need, we have balance. We have a couple transfers, and we have, typically at each position, we even got more high school kids that will be here coming in that we can develop. We got guys coming in that are transfers in January. We got high school kids that are coming in January. That's on purpose. That's the balance. We had to be extremely diligent with how that process looks going forward to build the team right. And it's not just, again, about having a certain number of guys.
Maybe the number of teams you have to play now, because of the super seniors and all that stuff, is probably as complex as ever. How do you plan to handle some of those guys that, we talked in the last couple of weeks, and they say they want to come back, they don't know if they can come back. So how will you guys approach that? How did that factor into today?
It's all factored in already. Yeah, it's all factored in. And again, when the season's over, that'll be a much clearer picture. Today is about the guys that we signed today.
Coach, given the youth you have at quarterback, if you were to add another quarterback in this class, would you prefer it to be a transfer or a grad transfer type?
You know what? It's about the best fit. If we were to do that, with Mad Dog, we feel extremely comfortable and confident. And so right now our focus again is where the equation is right now, and we are exactly where we need to be in terms of numbers going forward, and with the landscape of the game and obviously the transfer portal. That's the reality of things. Like, are we going to sit here and expect to come back with everybody in January? That's not a reality. We all know that. But are we focused on that? We might need to be to write a story, but we're not. We're focused on this last mission and what this team is. This is this year's team right now. So that's why I'm not mixing up that with what we're talking about right now. And that's in fairness to exactly what we've talked to our team about. But there's a reality of things. But where we're at right now, and the guys that we're fortunate to have to be able to join our team coming up here, we're extremely excited about. And I think everybody in America is involved in that same, if you're still playing and you're fortunate enough to play in a bowl game right now, you're focused on this bowl game. This is a team that we have right now. These are the young men that are growing forward.
Going back to 2017 when the early time league started, 22 players is the most this program has signed on the first day. The last 3 years it was 15. What's getting so many recruits early on lead to this class or the depth going forward?
Yeah, well, there is a lot of things that have changed since 2017. Obviously, there's the transfer portal now. There's the potential for the additional initials. There's a lot of things that have changed in this class right here. I think, too, what you'll see is how many guys are enrolling mid-year now. That's way different, not just for Boise State, but for a lot of universities. Everything's getting pushed up. Everything is getting pushed up earlier. And to be honest with you, most, through the NCAA requirements, the core courses, the GPA, and those things, the majority of the student athletes coming out of high school, they're done but with 2 classes in the spring semester. We're talking about the majority of them might have 4 classes in the spring. 2 of those are ceramics and art. So there's a big decision for a lot of guys. That's where if a guy wants to graduate early, there's more times than not 2 classes you knock out in the summertime and you're done. You could be done in January, and that's where a lot of young men want to take the advantage of starting college early, getting started and having longer prep than just the summertime to be able to get ready to have the possibility to compete in the fall. And that's a whole nother semester of academics. You're getting on. You should be in well range of being able to graduate and get on to a master's degree as well. I mean, I was just looking at pictures last night again from when Cortez is here a few weeks ago, and he's a massive person and a well-built person. And I mean, not that I'm a big guy, but that guy standing, like, we're looking at all these pictures and even standing next to his coach, Coach Miley. I mean, that's a big, those guys lift a lot of weight still. But Cortez's flexibility, his hip flexibility, his twitch that goes along with his size, his ability to play the run game with that, we talk about whether it's high school or transfer guys, there's a guy that physically is going to be able to come in and compete and find his way quickly because of the maturity of his body. And then, as well as Devin, his presence on the edge. When you turn on the film and watch it, there's a lot there that we feel like we can develop really fast that, he's going to be able to have that pass rush presence as he grows into an every down player.
You've almost completed a
Favorite meal, Roger. Jow, New Mexico. They had a whole spread that covered every counter in the kitchen. And it was Mexican food, so I was fired up. About 4 desserts. Each tub of dessert was about this big. Needless to say, we didn't eat for a day after that. Next question.
Oh, craziest travel story, I don't know. I remember one time you were out, did you buy boots when you were on the road one time for
Yeah, because Spencer didn't do his Christmas shopping, so I don't know. I don't want to bring out old stuff, but we had to buy Rachel a Christmas present because Spencer hadn't done his shopping yet. So we were trying to find a belt buckle on our way to see Roger, and we were unsuccessful in being able to find belts and belt buckles that way. A funny story too. I'll let those guys tell the story about George when they come in here. When is Coach D and Stacy, will they be in here at the same time? Oh yeah, you guys got to ask them about the last home visit with George. I'll let them tell that one. There's a lot. We were laughing in the staff room when we were getting prepped for today. Last night we were in there for about 20 minutes and our cheeks were just hurting. It's an unbelievable opportunity. You get to go into these young men's cities first, right, or their towns, and get to find out so much more about them, their families, and who they are. And a lot of that is fun, but it also gives you a lot more perspective too on who they are, so you can help grow them forward faster. But needless to say, we've all been on 2-a-days since we got done with recruiting because we probably ate way too much, and there was not a whole lot of working out involved. We traveled, about made a full circle of Southern California on one day. Started up in the high desert, seeing Gavin, and then circled all the way and ended up in San Diego that night, all the way up through the desert, down through LA. Managed to beat traffic and not get caught up in that. But every day, recruiting, you start in one state and you end up in another by night to be ready to go in the morning. It was a solid, I got to do the math in my head real quick. I think it was 15 years since I've been to Memphis. I think you guys know the last time I was in Memphis. Did you go eat at Rendezvous last time you were there?
I did actually, yeah.
So it was my first time eating there again in a solid 15 years or so.
Barbecue down in the basement?
Oh yeah, yeah. And so bought some seasonings and barbecue sauce for the pilots and the man's plane that flew us out there, Mark Miller. And so we brought home a bunch of seasonings and barbecue sauce to see if we got any shot at recreating something close to what we ate that day. But there's stories after stories of being able to be out. That's the fun in it. And you know what? Being able to get out of this building, we spend 4 or 5 months, like we leave our house, we come here. We leave here, we go straight to our house, we quick sleep, come right back. So to be able to go out on the road and hang out with the staff, hang out with the families, it's fun. Recruiting is really fun.
Andy, you inherited this roster on January 9th. Today you finally got to, not fix it, but what were your priorities in terms of the voids? What was voiding from this roster, whether it was a character trait, X's and O's, that you needed to fill?
Well, I think as we spoke about all along, you're always going to recruit for depth and mentality. And it doesn't matter what position. Depth, mentality, and the character of the team. Those are the things we focus on. That's our foundation. That's been, the foundation of our brotherhood for a long time. And back to, 20 years ago when I was a player, there's something that we were taught here, and it's been all the way through, is leave it better than you found it. So each and every year we have the opportunity to build our team and make it better. That's college football. And as a player, I knew every single year that there's guys coming in. And the guys that were coming in, I was helping recruit them. And building that where it's not just us as coaches, but it's the players. These young men come on visits. The players are with them. We want to know from our players, how was this guy? How was he? When they're away from us, what'd you think about him? And so that is always an emphasis, too, to make sure that the players are helping grow this team and this family. Because at the end of the day, Mike, it's going to be them stepping in, in between that paint. We're still standing on the sidelines or up in the booth.
Carlos, local kid.
Yeah.
Got him 1 year.
Yeah.
So I would imagine the expectations to come in and he's gonna be battling right away. Would you talk about George for a second?
Yeah, no question. The competition for everybody. So going way back, I remember George, came over here in his Bora football uniform in high school football camp. A lot of these guys. I mean, it goes way back. And then when his name surfaced back up again, it's like, yep, it comes full circle. He's done an unbelievable job developing himself. He obviously looks way different from high school football camp. What he's done, you watch his film, his physicality, his ability to establish the line of scrimmage and pass rush. Some of the things that we feel confident about is even being able to further his development. That's the reason why he wanted to come here. He wanted to be back a part of this university, this community, and be a part of this program. And we've been fortunate enough to develop edge players with specific, specific to that position. And it's a fit. We have players at that position that are coming back that we feel extremely confident in. And so to be able to, again, to add the depth so we can train the way we need to throughout the course of the year, we can practice the way we need to throughout the course of the year, that is the most important thing. We cannot wear our guys out because we don't have the depth we need.
Andy, what stands out to you about Ashton?
Oh, that's a long list. There's a long list on this guy now. I mean, number one, he's well-rounded because of where he's been. I mean, his father being in the military, starting off, Florida to Europe, back to Texas, him living on a base in Europe, and being in junior high, being a freshman that basically got player of the year over there as a freshman, how they traveled around and played each of the bases over there, and then his father retired, so they moved back to the States, and he shows up, in one of the meccas of high school football, and he jumps in, and his first year there, we were laughing earlier because his mom shows up and drops him off at high school and tells the coach, I think my son's a pretty good football player. Here he is. Go get it. Yeah, he's a really good football player, but he started out playing nose guard and getting sacks for his team as a sophomore, rushing off the edge to get pressure when they couldn't start. And so, obviously that's not what he's going to do for us, although we joke around with the offensive guys, Spencer does, that we're going to need him on third down passing down situations. But that's just the type of young man he is. He came here, during the June workouts that we got to do. And a lot of the young men that show up to those, they're not in great shape, let's just be honest. So you got to be really diligent about the rest you give them and all that stuff. And we're trying to take a slow pace for Ashton. He's like, what's next? Let's go. I'm not tired, guys. Come on, let's go. His work ethic, his drive, and his ability to fit in this offense from the standpoint of he's played slot wide receiver. He obviously played running back. His versatility for us to be able to do all the things, obviously much like some of the guys we have now.
Coach, Prince Straken.
Yes.
How did you guys discover him, and what stands out about him on film?
Yeah, so there's a former alumni that had shot his information over. And so, again, initially, you start to watch the film. You're looking for a competitor, a certain mentality. Does this guy love ball? Does he play ball like in his first couple clips? Like, yeah. And then you see his length. You see his ability to go up and track the ball. At his size, he's always open, whether there's someone on him or not because of his length. And really, we feel very confident about his ceiling and being able to develop him. And really, with Zamadre too, you're talking about we got some length and guys that can go up and get it, that can accelerate.
I think he's got a gray shirt, right?
Well, that's where it is. All fluid on the numbers and all that stuff. Like, there is a possibility.
You mentioned that you didn't necessarily cast a super wide net when it came to recruits, and you didn't offer 20 guys at one spot. Why is that method effective, not only for you and your staff, but how do the kids genuinely feel that you're not offering 20 kids behind them?
How do you recruit 20 kids' families? Know who their brothers and sisters are, and really build the relationships, and then do the same thing in this building. There's only so much time during the day. And so the net is wide, Jay, but then how do we get to the point where, no, these are the people we're going to offer. These are the people we're going to go invest in, that we believe in, and show them, talk to them about their fit and how they fit here. Specific from big picture to a specific plan for a certain individual. And that's just, you know, obviously we didn't make this up. It's what we've learned over the course of the years, getting to go to other places, seeing other philosophies, and really being able to mesh a lot of things together to make it ours. And is it perfect? No, there's like anything else. We're going to evaluate as soon as this is done, and to be honest with you, we're going to tweak things. We're going to always find ways to get better and how we could keep growing in every area, you know, underneath this roof right here, including recruiting. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. Thanks for taking care of all those guys and loving them up. I'll send it. No, I.